This show is sponsored by Primal Kitchen.
Today we are making cod with artichoke caponata and a quick broccoli Caesar. Have your recipe? Let's get started. So I thought today we would do a little bit of fish, switch things up a little bit. And if you'll notice, I have the caponata in quotation marks just because it's kind of a different version-y kind of. We could call it an artichoke relish, but it's not really a relish. So we're just going to use caponata. And I had also found this fabulous broccoli Caesar recipe, and I don't know where, that uses Napa cabbage, which we'll get into in just a little bit. But let's get started by putting our oven on 425 so that our oven is heating up, okay? So we need our cod, which I have right here. And if you'll notice, fun fact again, I just learned this one the other day when I was getting the cod. We have loin pieces, and then we have like the center fillet pieces. And in Ireland, where cod is a very big fish, they charge more for the cod loin than they do for the rest of the fillet of the cod. Because everybody likes the loin. It's kind of like you have tenderloin with beef tenderloin, or your filet mignon, or your chicken tenders. It's the same thing apparently with the cod. So the United States apparently is the only place that doesn't charge more for the cod loin. So be thankful for that. So we have our fish, right? And to our fish, I say that we have two different ways of doing this. We're going to just drizzle some of our Primal Kitchen avocado oil on that. Drizzle, 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 drizzle. Choo, choo. And I'm going to put a little bit of salt. And I do not use my fingers in my salt bowl or my salt box because I don't like getting all the jutchy little things in them. So I use a spoon. So we're going to wait for this to heat up a little bit more. Hopefully we're going to hear that go off. I know your oven, that's the only kind of touchy thing here as well. How long is it going to take to heat up the oven? I hope that your oven heats up quickly. If not, we are going to be going on and moving with the rest of our recipe as we're waiting for this to happen. Another thing you want to watch out for, if you see I'm doing a no-no right now, I have my fish sitting on my stovetop. What could possibly go wrong with that, right? Well, what if somebody was cooking on your stovetop and your burner was still warm? Then you'd start cooking your fish from the bottom. And depending on the size of the burner, maybe some of it is getting partially cooked and some of it isn't. Not to mention when you go to pick up the pan, if that burner is still hot, you can burn yourself. And we don't want that to happen to you. So do not follow my mistake right here that I have happening where I have my fish resting on my stove. Another thing that we can call me out on is healthy meals in minutes, Adrienne. Is that really happening? You're using foil with your food. Isn't that awful for you? Well, yes, there is quite a bit of conversation out there as far as heavy metals go and toxicity and using foil. So then we can put parchment paper. Well, I got called out on that one a couple months ago on my Insta as well, which was really interesting because I had said what I like to do is I put down my foil and then I'll put parchment paper down on top of it, because when you're using parchment paper on your pans, then you still have that residue on your pan and then you have to clean it afterwards. Whereas if you put the foil down and then put the parchment paper down, then you don't have to worry about that extra cleanup. And in my post, I had said parchment paper is healthier-ish, right? And I get this comment that says, parchment paper isn't good for you. And they were talking about the chemicals that are in parchment paper. And I said, well, thank you for bringing that up, because I did say ish. You really have to pick your battles when it comes to your health walk, okay? And I've been on this health walk and this health journey for about 25 years now, and I'm still learning things, and I still jump off the wagon, and then I jump back on the wagon, because we never fall off a wagon. We're jumping off full on every single time. So pick what is easiest for you to do and what things you can commit yourself to when it comes to your health choices, okay? That's the biggest thing that I'm trying to prove right now is intentional mistake, just to talk about things. Will I do this again in another recipe? Maybe I will. Maybe this will be a great conversation to have. So our oven is almost hot. Don't know if yours is, but while we're doing that, we're going to start our artichoke caponata. So we have our canned artichoke hearts here. I have tried using frozen artichoke hearts as well, and they just don't seem to have a better quality as far as the leaves being too gristly and then not being able to eat them. And that's another thing as far as bang for your buck. We're going to drain these right now. So I'm keeping them in the can. This way we don't have to clean a strainer, right? So I just pop the can open and then I'm draining it into our sink here. The more expensive the artichoke hearts are, the better quality they are, and the more edible part of the artichoke heart you're going to get. So if you can afford, if it's in your budget to get the artichoke hearts that do cost a couple dollars more, you're definitely going to get a lot more out of it. So we have our artichoke hearts that we're going to put into our chopper here. Let's make a little mess. You can either choose to put it into your food or you can just throw it away if something falls out, right? And then we have 6 Castelvetrano green olives. That's a mouthful, isn't it? Why did I choose these olives? Because they have this flavorful, meaty, non-olivey taste to them, which I love. And you know what? These guys have pits. So when you're purchasing them, make sure you get those pits out. Let me wash my hands before we continue. Again, I love when these things happen because this is real life. And maybe you're so busy when you're grocery shopping that you don't notice that you've bought the ones with the pits. Or maybe you don't have an olive bar, like in my case. So I couldn't get just 6 olives. I had to buy the jar, and the only jar that there was had the pits, which I didn't read about, right? So you can pick these apart any way you want to. If you have a fancy Fandangle olive or cherry pitter, that's definitely the best way to go. So happy that I ate one today, otherwise I would have destroyed my mini chopper. If you notice, I have 2 mini choppers here today. And the reason for that is we're doing the broccoli Caesar dressing, and then we have this cheat caponata that we're making, right? So I'm just pulling all the meat off these olives. Did you know artichoke hearts, let's go off on a random tangent because that's what Adrian likes to do a lot. Artichoke hearts are full of fiber. And if you had seen our Moroccan spiced butternut squash and turkey zucchini recipe, that's when I started bringing up the topic of fiber. I have a client right now that I cook for. I do meal prep for the week for clients, among other things in my world. And they need to have, where's my other olive? There's my other olive. They need to have 40 grams of fiber a day. And how many people out there really enjoy eating 3 meals a day? Or who has time for 3 meals a day? So they had asked if I could make one large meal, about 1,000 calories for them to consume. Well, with the carbs and the fiber and everything, using artichoke hearts, I was able to make one meal with 1 can of artichoke hearts, and we hit like 40% of their fiber needs just in doing that. And it's such a flavorful way for it to happen. It just makes me happy. So along with our artichoke hearts, we have our walnuts. And we're going to toss in some capers, 2 tablespoons. Now, do you have to use a measuring spoon? No, you don't. See this handy dandy lid right here? We can just measure out a tablespoon and another tablespoon. And the juice in your capers really gives a lot of flavor to it, so it's okay when that spills over. Again, another little happiness that can happen. And we're going to throw in a couple cloves of garlic. And I say 1 bunch of basil. Really, Adrienne? We're going to put this much basil. It really depends on what your stores are selling, because some have these little tiny bunches and some have these big bunches. So like 6 leaves, 7 leaves. Kind of depends how much flavor you like in there. Okay? So we have that. And then what else is going in? We need some salt, right? And we're going to put some of our Primal Kitchen mayonnaise in there. So there comes our salt. And then we have our Primal Kitchen mayonnaise with avocado oil that we are putting into the caponata. It is a homemade flavor that's simply delicious. It's made with real ingredients like avocado oil and certified humane cage-free eggs. What does that mean to me or to you? It means that you know that we are having whole ingredients that are fed properly and humanely raised, which really makes a big difference. And it tastes good. So, now that we have that going on, we are going to put our cod into the oven. Your oven should be hot by now. In we go, happy baking. We're going to start our mini chopper, and we're just going to pulse it. And we have to mix it up a little bit more, don't we? You can use a spatula. You don't have a spatula, you can use a spoon. Again, we're just trying to get this together. I'm not going for a puree per se on this one. I just want everything combined. And you'll see it's being temperamental. And this is called overcrowding, by the way. There's way too much in here to make it mix all properly. So, if you're lazy, that's what's going to happen. All right. There we go. So this is ready. You also have to pay attention in your kind of mini chopper. This one, for example, doesn't have a hole in the bottom of it. This guy does. So if you remove the blade, you're going to have a whole bunch of a hot mess going on there. Whereas with this guy, I can take it out and just let this rest. So I'm going to put these here in our sink. I'm going to take this out of here, right? And we're waiting for our cod to get that happening. In the meantime, we're going to start our broccoli Caesar. So we have some broccoli florets here today. These are broccoli crowns. The florets is when we take the stem off. And we also have our Napa cabbage, which I'm sorry, you can also use shredded slaw if you want to. However, if you want to make this recipe the correct way, you're going to use a Napa cabbage, okay? So this is what they look like, and we're only going to use probably a quarter of this cabbage because this one's pretty big. We always want to wash our veggies first. So we have our baking soda and water that we are going to clean our veggies in to get off all the yucky residues. Even if it's organic, you still have yucky residues that need to be cleaned because there could be little buggies someplace, believe it or not. And our broccoli, we're going to clean our broccoli a little bit. Make sure your dish rack is clean if you're doing this, yeah? So we're cleaning that all up, and you can even see like the residue that's starting to come off that is in here. We're going to dry our hands. Just going to take a little paper towel here to dry these broccolis off. And then we're going to make florets out of these broccoli crowns. So we just cut the stem off. The other way that you can do it is if you have a paring knife or a utility knife. This is a utility knife. This is a paring knife. This is a chef knife. They all have different uses. My mom used to use a paring knife for everything. You notice that I used the chef knife when I cut this off. But so we're just going to make florets here, right? So what I like to do is, and we're going to go through this a couple more times, we can use the paring knife for this as well. We're cutting off the stem. And as the stem cuts off, it's easier that these florets kind of just break off by themselves. La la la, right? So we can do that again. We can also just cut into this part to get these florets and make things happen that way. One more time. Let's use a utility knife this time. Maybe you're more comfortable with a mid-sized knife when you're cutting your vegetables. And that's okay also. This is why you're going to notice a bunch of different knives that I'm playing with throughout this season. We're cutting off the stem. Look, that worked really well on this batch. It must be the way that it grew. And we're breaking apart the florets. The nice part is that while that's happening, our Napa cabbage has dried off. We're going to put these guys into our bowl. I thought since we are using a Caesar salad that we would use a wooden bowl. It's going to be a cheat dressing though. Just wait for this one. Okay, Napa cabbage. Sometimes the leaves fall off. Sometimes they need to fall off because you have these little speckles. And there's nothing really wrong with it. It just isn't aesthetically pleasing, right? So we can take that off. Now, if your hands are wet, you don't want to pick up your knife and use it because it's going to slip out of your hand. And that means you can get boo-boos like I had gotten on my finger last week. I almost cut through my nail bed. Huh. Yes, that happens to all of us. So dry off your knife, dry off your hands, and then we're going to be cutting this Napa cabbage in half. Again, let your knife do the cutting. Let your knife do the cutting, not your shoulder. Okay? We're going to put the rest of this guy away for now. Thank you, Napa cabbage. And we're going to slice this on a diagonal. That's a good piece of food. Don't throw it away. Food cost. Today's day and age, everything costs money, right? We want to make sure that we're making things very efficient. So we're cutting this very thin until, look, my hand is slipping. So do you want to keep cutting here? Absolutely not. You can take these off and then you can continue cutting. All right? But again, I'm just trying to help you have fun in the kitchen. You're not going to be having fun in the kitchen if you're slicing your fingers, right? You're going to be like, I'm done, Adrienne. You can save this for soup if you want to, or you can toss it, or you can compost it. Kind of depends on what you do. I have dreams of having a fabulous garden and composting, and right now, I do not have the bandwidth for it. So, let's get our Napa cabbage into our bowl. We'll move this guy over so you can see better, right? And with all of our messies that we have right now, let's take a quick wash break. Oh. So let's clean as we go. Cleaning as we go makes your dinner or your mealtime or your meal prep such more an enjoyable event to be happening in your life. Because otherwise, like today, unfortunately, I'm sorry, I do have multiple utensils and gadgets that I'm using, which means you have so much more cleanup, and I apologize for that. I really like to think of myself as this fabulous healthy meals in minutes cook. Adrienne, what are you doing with all these gadgets and gizmos and things that I have to clean? I'm sorry. You're going to thank me when you taste it. Okay, so on to our Caesar dressing. So this is really, really fun because all we need is our mayonnaise, our Primal Kitchen mayonnaise. Basil, thank you very much. We don't need you right now. And let's clean up our little messy here, right? We have our Primal Kitchen organic Dijon mustard as well because those are ingredients that go into your Caesar dressing. We have some Parmesan or Romano. I'm really a Romano, of the Romano field. We have anchovy paste. Now, do you have to have anchovies in your Caesar dressing? And the answer is no, you don't. If you take the anchovies out, it is then called a Josephine. In this case, we're using anchovy paste instead of anchovy fillets, simply because if you don't use anchovies on a regular basis, why would you want to have a can sitting in your fridge, and why would you waste all your money? Whereas if you have an anchovy paste, it works great. So we are going to put our mayonnaise into our mini chopper. Maybe you have an immersion blender. We are going to put our Primal Kitchen Dijon mustard in here, just a dash. We have our anchovy paste instead of fillets, anchovy fillets. Got a little overzealous on that. I like anchovies. I hated anchovies as a child. I love them now. We're going to put in a garlic clove. If you don't like garlic, you don't have to use it. If you want to use granulated garlic instead of fresh garlic, go for it by all means. We're going to put in some of our cheese. Now, if you have an eggless mayonnaise, you can use an eggless mayonnaise. You could also use a cheese substitute if that doesn't work for you as well. And again, you would not use your anchovy paste. However, what you could use instead is dulse flakes, which is a sea vegetable, and that'll give that same kind of fishy, I don't want to say fishy, but anchovy flavor. So that's what you want to be looking for on that. And then we have our avocado oil. We're going to add a little bit of that. You can also use your Primal Kitchen olive oil as well, which is fabulous. And we're going to mix this up. Okay, so we have our lemon juice. Very essential when we're talking about having a Caesar dressing. And let's taste it to see if we need to tweak anything. That tastes really good. I'm going to blend it up just a little bit more. There we go. So we have our broccoli, we have our Napa cabbage, and now to that we are going to add our Caesar dressing. And I'm going to use the same spoon that I'd used for the mayonnaise. Why? So that way it's something that we don't have to wash if we used a spatula instead, right? So we're scraping off our dressing. And I'm going to take some of our veggies here to scrape out our bowl. Why? So that we don't have something else that we have to wash other than our hands. There we go. And we are going to massage our broccoli and our cabbage, and we're going to tell it how wonderful it's going to taste and how excited we are to eat it. If you remember, when you massage your broccoli, it's kind of like massaging kale. It's really essential in order to get those flavors into it. The one thing that you can look at doing, hey, check this out. There's a brown piece of Napa cabbage in there. You want to toss that out. You don't want to keep it in there. As I was saying, massaging it really gets that flavor into it. So there is our broccoli. And look, since we have to wash our hands, let's wash our food processor at the same time, our mini chopper. So we get this nice and clean. Get the blade clean. Dry our hands because we don't want to be burning ourselves, right? Let's get our plate ready over here. You notice I'm not using the wet towel that I'm about to handle here. Look at this fish. Look how beautiful it is. Oh, I'm excited. So we can either plate these individually or we can just be serving our family like so. Let's get a little spatula here so that we don't lose any more of our fish than we already have, right? Cod really doesn't take that long to cook. It has this beautiful flakiness to it. And then let's get our caponata here and let's top these. Oh, yum. Oh, yum. Here we go. Sneaky way to get those veggies into your family while enjoying things. Take a little bite for yourself. Yeah. That's the way we have it going on. So with that today, if you are a partaker of the vine, we have two really cool wines from PRP which have no added preservatives and no added sulfite wines. We have a crisp white here, which is our Chenin Blanc Cape Root. Aromas of apricot, papaya, and green apple, followed with hints of fresh thyme, which, when we're putting with Caponata, yum. We also have a great pairing with our white Chevy, or our Chevy White Chevalier de Bayard, which is 100% Colombard grape with fruity aromas of gooseberry, citrus, hints of paprika, and also a perfect fish and seafood wine. These wines will balance with creaminess of the Caponata and the minerality and freshness of the cod. You can contact Rosie at the QR code to get those wines today. So, we have our cod. We have our broccoli, Caesar. It doesn't get better than this. Nice, fresh, light, proteins, great combinations. I will see you soon. Thank you.
Stay tuned for next week's grocery list and meal, right after Caring for the Community.
And here we are with Caring for the Community, and today I am talking with Karen Mertes, who is founder and CEO of Fulfill Your Destiny, and Karen Albino, who is the CIO of Fulfill Your Destiny. So, I am quite familiar with you and Fulfill Your Destiny because I was actually one of the recipients of your business grants that you offer. But let's just go ahead and talk a little bit about yourself and the backstory on Fulfill Your Destiny, Karen.
Well, thank you, Chef Adrian, and thank you so much for having us on today. The backstory has to do with a drunk driver hitting me back in 2007, my vehicle that was on I-75 at a high rate of speed. And in surviving that collision, I made a promise that I would spend forever helping others. And that, I didn't know it then, but that's turned into Fulfill Your Destiny. And the organization has a signature program of awarding business builder grants to local entrepreneurs to help take their businesses to a whole nother level.
So can you share a little bit about the Business Building Grant Initiative and how others can get involved?
Absolutely, and I'm going to let Karen Albino talk about that.
Okay.
So how other people can get involved is easy, and Karen's made it very easy. I'll give you an example. Now she's partnered with Tampa Bay Markets, and they are offering the grants to crafters and vendors who are set up to vend at their particular markets all throughout the community. And 4 times a year, we pitch a application to all of the vendors. Recently, I think we had about 88 applicants come in on the last one,
yes,
which was phenomenal. And cumulatively, we review all of the grants, or all of the applications, and there's 4 of us ladies who put our heads together and choose one of the recipients. So Tampa Bay Markets is just an example. The grants can be given out through a corporation, through a business who just wants to sponsor a grant by simply writing a $1,000 check to Karen. 2 businesses can go together. Each business could give $500. Together they could give a grant. The grant could be someone of a demographic that they have chosen, or again, Karen makes it super easy. Just turn the whole program over to her. She can send out the applications, and a recipient from anywhere can be awarded the grant.
That is really beautiful work that you're doing, and it just amazes me just how well things work and how much you're supporting the small business person. And especially in today's age with the way that businesses, with the economy, with the way things are flipping so quickly, to be able to provide that support. So how can people get in touch with Fulfill Your Destiny?
I think the easiest way is to go to the website, which is fulfillyourdestiny.org. It's a fabulous website because you can preview hundreds of people, hundreds of recipients and their backstories of why they were chosen, what they used the grant money for, and on some of them we've gone so far as to do a follow-up and find out what they're doing now. And the stories are amazing. But you can go to fulfillyourdestiny.org, fill out the contact form, and there's other ways that you can reach us by social media, which is available on the website.
Okay, so fulfillyourdestiny.org is where you can find ways for applications, how you can support Karen Mertes and Karen Albino with Fulfill Your Destiny, supporting small businesses, offering grants, awarding those grants to our local community. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you again, Chef Adrienne, for having us.
So much.
All right, see you soon.
You bet.
Bye-bye.
Join us next week to make picadillo with green beans and a roasted asparagus with a simple hollandaise. Today's show is sponsored by Primal Kitchen. With just a drizzle, dollop, or spread of Primal Kitchen, your meals will be packed with premium ingredients and elevated flavor. Find their fabulous sauces at primalkitchen.com, Target, Sprouts, Whole Foods, Walmart, and Kroger. And remember to visit primalkitchen.com to see the latest specials they're offering. Primal Kitchen is the food whisperer's go-to for recipe inspiration to make a meal with real high-quality ingredients. Today's segments were sponsored by Cargaca Services, where family values and contracting expertise unite. Contact Carlos today to start building your dream into a reality at cargaca@yahoo.com. Give him a call at 813-735-8502. And Advanced Massage and Colon Hydrotherapy, empowering a healthy body inside and out. Make your appointment today with Cheryl at advancedmassagecolonhydrotherapy.com.